Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here, because today, we're going on an exciting detective mission. We're traveling back to the 19th century to decode some incredibly powerful visual arguments. We're looking at the age of Andrew Jackson, but hey, we aren't just reading history books today. We're analyzing how artists used images to fight their political battles. It's going to be a lot of fun. Listen to this piece of wisdom for a second. The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge. For the ears of the wise seek it out. Okay, let's dive into this, because building media literacy and spotting bias is exactly what it means to be wise and discerning. A really wise reader doesn't just glance at a picture, right? They actively ask, what is this image trying to make me believe? And today, we're sharpening those exact skills. All right, here's our roadmap. First, 1, the power of political cartoons. Then 2, how to decode cartoons. Next, we'll tackle 3 case studies: King Andrew, the bank hydra, and the spoils system. And finally, number 6, we'll tie it all together with education, morality, and peace. Let's jump right into section 1, power of political cartoons. So I want you to imagine taking a massive, heated political debate, arguments over the economy, government reach, or presidential power, and compressing all of that complex information into a single punchy image. That is exactly what a political cartoon is. It's literally an argument in a picture. The artist uses symbols, exaggeration, and clever captions to make a highly specific point about power. Strong readers and focused learners like you don't just look at these and laugh at the joke. You look closely to identify the specific claims, the persuasive techniques, and the historical context hidden right there inside the ink. Now you might be wondering, why does this even matter? Well, decoding these images builds some seriously essential media literacy. When you master this, you can spot bias instantly. You can evaluate hidden claims and completely master the use of visual evidence. And let me tell you, these skills aren't just for history class. They empower you to navigate today's fast-paced media landscape with truth, clarity, and confidence. Moving right along to section 2, how to decode cartoons. All right, here's your toolkit, a simple 5-step framework that's going to turn you into a visual detective. Step 1, observe without judging. Just literally list the objects, clothing, and expressions you see. Step 2, identify the symbols. For example, if you see a crown, think monarchy. Step 3, read the text, like any captions or speech bubbles. Step 4, link it to the historical context. Ask yourself, which side is this artist on? And finally, step 5, state the claim. Write down exactly what the cartoon's message is, backed by the visual proof you just found. Now, this process demands slow looking and careful note-taking, but trust me, it is so incredibly rewarding. Let's test this out with section 3, case study, King Andrew. All right. Here is a challenge I want to put directly to you. What is the claim behind the famous cartoon King Andrew I? When an artist draws the President of the United States dressed up in royal robes, what exactly are they trying to make you believe about him? Now, what's really interesting about this is how perfectly the visual evidence maps to the historical meaning here. The artist uses a crown and scepter to say Jackson is acting like a monarch. There's a torn constitution under his feet, suggesting he's disrespecting the law. And he's holding an oversized veto paper, which is the artist's way of arguing that Jackson is abusing his executive power. Now remember, we aren't taking sides here. We are just neutrally decoding the artist's very specific, very sharp critique. Let's look at another one. Section 4, case study, bank hydra. Okay, picture this. An image of a president battling a terrifying, mythical monster with many heads. I want you to prompt yourself with our toolkit. What is the claim in the bank hydra cartoon? Consider the artist's perspective here when they make the active choice to draw a political issue as a literal monster fight. Just look at how brilliant this framing is. The visual evidence shows Jackson slaying a many-headed monster labeled bank, where the heads represent different state branches and financiers. And the historical meaning? Well, this cartoon is actively supporting Jackson. It frames the bank as a dangerous, entrenched, far-reaching power, and paints the president as a courageous, heroic slayer of corruption. The artist is basically using powerful mythology to make you cheer for the president. On to our final historical example, section 5, case study, spoils system. Think about a cartoon filled with totally chaotic imagery, massive crowds swarming the government, looking for jobs. What is the claim about all creation going to the White House? Decode that chaos in your mind for a second. Spoiler alert, it's definitely not meant to be a compliment. So the crucial point here is how the cartoonist uses overwhelming detail to critique a policy. The endless crowds of office seekers represent the spoils system in action. The bulging applications and harried clerks visually argue that good government is being totally overwhelmed and ruined by this patronage. The artist is claiming that rewarding political supporters with government jobs just creates total chaos. Finally, let's bring it all home with Section 6, Education, Morality, and Peace. And this brilliantly illustrates our final pivot. We've looked at the history and the visual tactics, right? But how do we apply these lessons to our own lives today? I want us to really slow down for a second and take in the weight of this scripture. Micah 6:8 asks, "What does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God." When we evaluate leaders, whether we're looking back at history or looking around us today, we have to look past the political noise. We must measure them by their character, their humility, and their genuine pursuit of justice. As you analyze history, celebrating courage where you find it and critiquing injustice where you see it, remember that power is a stewardship. You're practicing how to serve the common good. You are learning how to use your own voice with humility and to seek justice for the vulnerable right there in your own community. And this actually brings us to a core philosophy taught in the Heroes Mart Academy Godly Learners series. Education without morality will hurt. Let's be totally honest. What is the point of being incredibly smart and highly educated if you just continue to make bad choices that hurt yourself and others? True education, the kind that actually builds up society, has to be intertwined with biblical morality. Without that moral compass, raw intelligence can easily become destructive. This truth is beautifully captured in Romans 8:6-7. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Keeping your mind spiritual and grounded in these moral truths isn't just about, following a set of rules. It's the guaranteed path to experiencing true, lasting peace of mind. That is the ultimate goal of learning. Which leaves us with this final, really vital question. Armed with this visual literacy and grounded in biblical wisdom, how will you use your voice and your education justly today? You have the detective skills to see through the noise, and you have the moral grounding to know what is right. So go out there, analyze the world carefully, and make a positive impact. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep seeking out knowledge.